and understanding dark sentences, obscure, but manifesting wisdom that will cause people to be in awe of him.
Only one person.
This is the Antichrist, shall stand up. I remember in my church up in Lansing, there was a young woman who came to me and told me that she had a dream, which I believe was from the Lord. I know every dream you get isn't from God, but this seemed to express what I'm seeing here in this verse, and the whole world wondering after this individual, marveling at him. She dreamed one day that she was sitting in her room, and all of a sudden the TV came on. She didn't have any control over it. The television came on. And there was someone speaking, I guess, to the whole world over her TV screen. And at first, her first inclination as she listened to this individual, she thought, well, this must be Jesus. Listen to how he's talking. Wow. But then as this individual continued to speak, it became quite apparent to her something of the sinister aspect, intent of this individual. And she said, no, this can't be Jesus. It can't be him. And it disturbed her. You can understand. And I told her, I gave the interpretation to her about the dream. I believe what you were seeing was an accurate representation of the persuasiveness that the Antichrist is going to possess. He will seem to have spiritual wisdom. You know, we are in an age where now even stars, I'm not talking about literal stars now, but you know, Hollywood TV stars, Oprah and whatever, they can talk about, quote, spirituality. These are quotation marks. Spirituality. But what they refer to as spirituality is not godly. It's not a biblically based spirituality. You can say it's New Age or whatever, but it's not biblical. But this is my point. The world is being set up for that type of language. Her gurus, I don't watch her that much. I've just happened to catch a few little things that I get my full, I'm sorry, pretty quickly. Maybe I shouldn't be sorry. But I'm saddened by it because I can see these individuals, who I believe are tools of God's enemy, certainly as will be the Antichrist, are getting people ready to receive something far more sinister, darker. It says understanding dark sentences. You see that? Is going to stand up. And when he does come on, it's going to be like Jesus said. I think it's in the Olivet Discourse. Where is this? Matthew 24. We don't have to turn to it. But it's where he's saying that the deception is going to be so powerful that the very elect, if it were possible, would be deceived. So it just simply means unless we as God's people stay buried in the Word, knowing how to judge good and evil. Remember in the book of Hebrews, where the writer there condemned these early Christians. This was a group of Hebrew Christians that the writer said, look, you've been along this journey long enough that you shouldn't need a spiritual babysitter. You should be able to teach others. You should be able to share what you have been given with others. But you can't. You're not off the milk yet. Ever read that? I'll just go over there fairly quickly. Hebrews chapter 5.
Just as Paul told the Corinthian church, I think it was, I fed you with milk, not with meat, for hitherto ye are not, we're not able to bear it, neither yet now are you, for ye are yet eternal.
Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? God wants to be able to give his people more than milk. Now, milk is good. Peter said, desire ye to sin as newborn babes. This is in 1 Peter chapter 2. As newborn babes desire ye the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. But we're not to stay on baby food forever. And this is what the writer of Hebrews was saying here in chapter 5, where it says that he had many things, verse 11, wanted to say to them, and hard to be uttered, seeing ye are dull of hearing. People that want to have their ears tickled, to have a little 20-minute sermonette, and perhaps be excited about, the ability, the oratorical ability of the speaker, but they're not in it for something more than just some emotional effect. And so you're dull of hearing. Paul said that about people that would heap teachers unto themselves, having itching ears. You know what I mean by itching ears? You just want to have them tickled. You don't want to hear sound doctrine.
You want to hear what you want to hear.
Okay, I'm in Hebrews chapter 5. I just finished verse 11. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
You want to hear what you want to hear, not what the prophets want to tell you. And they told the ancient prophets, as either Isaiah or Jeremiah said, prophesy not. Say they to them that prophesy, whatever.
That's it. Because they that asked for a word from the Lord didn't really want it. They would turn from it. And so God wasn't going to give it to them. And he told the prophet, prophesy not. Okay. Verse 12 of Hebrews chapter 5. For the time ye ought to be teachers. He's talking to the ordinary Christians in this church. That each individual should reach a point where you could disciple others. Reach out to friends, neighbors, and give them some fundamentals for their faith, for them to stand on in their faith. For when the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk, and not strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he's a babe. We don't want to stay babies. You know, you can be a gray-haired baby. You understand what I'm talking about. No fault to people that have gray hair. I just got my hair cut today, and I looked in the mirror, and I noticed there was a streak of gray that I hadn't noticed before. Whoa! Well, I'm going to be 70 this month, so I suppose I've earned it. But everyone that useth milk is unskillful. You need to be babied. You need, to be burped. I'm using some down-to-earth expressions here. Everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even. Now this was my point. This goes back to Daniel 8. Even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern what? Both good and evil. How can you determine right from wrong to hear what thus saith the Lord? The little you get just because you come to church 2 or 3 times a week, I'm telling you, it's not enough.
Every day.
Yes. And so let's go back.
Can I read a footnote on that?
You may.
Such a person is walking after the Spirit. This refers to placing one's faith in the cross and not after the flesh. The flesh refers to depending on other things.
But what I'm saying, when the Antichrist comes, as I use that dream of, my wife would know who I'm referring to, no one else, but that was Sister Leslie McCready that got that dream in my church up in Lansing. And it exhibited very clearly to me how it's so vital for an individual to have their senses exercised. Are you weighing what the world says? What the world holds up on a pinnacle and say, oh, this is great. This is wonderful. And the whole world moves urgently toward that end. Have you had your senses exercised so you can discern, hold on here, I don't think so. You know, it doesn't square with what I know God says, His Word says. And so he's going to have great understanding, verse 23, as far as the world's concerned, worldly wisdom. Understanding dark sentences, he's going to stand up. Verse 24, I'm back in Daniel chapter 8. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Go with me to Revelation chapter 13, and I'll show you where his power comes from. It's hard to teach Daniel without going to Revelation. It's hard to deal with Revelation without going back to Daniel, because they dovetail so closely together. All right, here in Revelation 13, and it says, verse 4, speaking of the source of the Antichrist power. Now remember, in this chapter, he's not called the Antichrist, he's not called the willful king, he's not called the little horn, he's called the beast. And it's, as I showed you last week, if you remember, it's the 8th part of that animal that has 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast itself is the Antichrist. And it says, and they worshipped the dragon which gave, now who's the dragon?
The devil.
The devil.
The devil. Thank you. We learned that from the preceding chapter, chapter 12. And they worshipped the dragon which gave what?
Power.
To whom?
The beast.
Oh, to the beast.
Yes.
And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him. Now let's go back to Daniel 8. Where it says, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And where does his power come from? The devil, the dragon. You just learned that, okay? Daniel didn't tell you that, but John does. Okay. And he shall destroy wonderfully. That's a rather strange. I want to get the Amplified on that. He shall destroy wonderfully and shall prosper and practice and destroy the mighty and the holy people. Would you read verse 24?
Hebrews?
I'm back in Daniel 8. You didn't lose Daniel 8, I
Oh,
hope.
I don't know.
And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall corrupt and destroy astonishingly,
Astonishingly. I like that better.
and shall prosper and do his own pleasure. And he shall corrupt and destroy the mighty men and the holy people, the
Okay,
people
that's
of the saints.
okay. You can still read it if you.
Okay, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall corrupt and destroy astonishingly, first thing, and shall prosper to and do his own pleasure. He shall corrupt and destroy the mighty men and the holy people, the people of the saints.
Now his said astonishingly.
Well,
What
same thing.
Same
Exactly.
thing.
It's the same thing?
Same thing.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. That perhaps is a little bit better for our modern ears, rather than say he's going to destroy wonderfully. He's going to destroy. It's astonishing what he's going to be able to do. He's going to come into Jerusalem take over the reins of government and establishing himself there in the temple of God, which probably was erected under his jurisdiction in the 3.5 years previously. He's going to establish himself as an object of worship, demanding to be worshipped as God. And then someone read verse 25. Yes.
He will cause the seed to prosper, and he will consider himself superior. When they feel secure, he will destroy many and take his stand against the prince of princes. Yet he will be destroyed, but not by human power.
Do you see this? This cannot be referring to Antiochus Epiphanes. I know some of you came to me, I appreciate that, saying that early on in the chapter 8, it is trying to tell you that that little horn is Antiochus Epiphanes. Was Antiochus Epiphanes. He is now a historical figure. But we see in the angelic interpretation